Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dadpour. I'm a research fellow at the Cairns Institute, James Cook University. And today I will talk to you about emotions and how they impact support for specific interventions. First of all, acknowledgement of the country. I would like to pay my respect to the traditional owners and their knowledge and the care, as Gillian explained, they show for the country. And I hope that all of us would consider the country not as a backdrop of our research, but as the context and the teacher for all of us. So what I will present today is a part of RRAP program, Reef Restoration and Adaptation. It's a large program. Many of you may have heard about it or worked about it. It's a big collaboration. Multi-institutions are involved, and these are a few of people who I am privileged to work with. There are new faces joined us. Charlie's sitting there, fresh, brilliant minds. So why emotions? Well, because why not emotions? Emotions are important, and most of the research that has been done through, reef and interventions that are happening in the reef mainly focus on risk or, the governance, but emotions are something that haven't been much research done about them. But we know that as the reef is facing, lots of risks and constraints, we need to consider how people perceive different interventions and different solutions that are going to be introduced in the reef. And emotions is one of those ways. Gillian told you about the interviews and deep dives that had been done as a part of RRAP. What I will present here is a part of surveys that has been done as part of RRAP. It was a larger scale survey done in 3 different years, 2018, 2022, and 2024, with over 12,600 Australians. And, the survey included a national group and also specifically focused on a regional group as well, people who live 50K around the reef and in the region. And, the design was like that respondents were provided randomly with one specific intervention. It could be cloud brightening, fogging, genetic engineering, coral seeding, any of those different interventions. And then they were asked questions about those interventions. Some of these questions included emotions. They were asked how they feel about those specific intervention that was assigned to them. And these emotions were 5 negative emotions and 5 positive emotions, as you can see. They were also asked questions about how they support, whether they support that specific emotion or not. And this support was asked in 4 different scales, which were research about that intervention, funding for research, lab checks, and small scale implementation, and then larger scale deployment. So the design allowed us to understand how emotions would predict support. When we look at the big picture here, you can see how important hope is. I wish I could use this. Okay. So hope was one of the most significant predictors of support in all different scales. So if you look at the pink one, which is the largest scale support for larger scale deployment, you can see how important is hope. And also you can see confident and proud. Feeling confident and proud is also important factors to predict support. You can see that caution on top is the strongest negative predictor of support. And also you can probably see the sadness, the pink one in the sadness. And that was a very interesting one because we found out that sadness is actually a positive predictor of support when we think of larger scale deployment. And that was something that had changed during the time. And I will go in details in the, the change between these 3 years of survey from 2018, 2022, and 2024. But another important finding was that when we check for demographics and also different types of interventions and technologies, we noticed that the changes between these emotions were so small. So basically, although some of these changes were statistically significant, but the size effect was so small that practically we could see that these emotions have been broadly shared by everyone, in the community, no matter if they lived closer to the reef or, if they live in WA, if they were female or male, if they were, Aboriginal Torres Islanders or not. So these graphs show you the changes during the time. So the top one on the left side shows you the 2018, the bottom one is 2022, and the other one on that side is 2024. You can see that hope is consistently a dominant positive predictor of support. And pride and confidence gain more weight by time. So it seems like from 2018 to 2024, specifically when talking about larger scale deployment, feeling proud and feeling confident were important positive predictors of support. By the time passes, and we can see that fear-based emotions like feeling scared or powerlessness decrease in importance of predicting support. So it means that probably caution is, replacing them, because feeling cautious is actually gaining more importance. I list all these findings, some of the most important ones here. And the most interesting one is actually sadness here, because in 2018, sadness was a negative predictor of support. But by the time passes, talking about larger scale deployment, sadness turned into a positive predictor of support, potentially telling us that, well, this sadness is now in a point that people think that, well, we need to do something about it. So it's not basically an obstacle towards action. Another interesting finding is that the explanatory power of emotions actually decreased from 2018 to 2024. So in 2018, the variance in support that was predicted by emotions was about 35%, but in 2024, it was 26%. This does not necessarily say that emotions are losing importance or significance. We probably need more research to get done to know if it's actually a trend or a pattern, or it just happened for other reasons. But there is a potential that because interventions has been out there now for a while, the public, feel more familiar about them, and emotions are now turning into, sharing a space with other factors and indicators like trust. Regardless of all these changes, I think what our findings mainly is trying to say is that emotions are important, and they are not only background noises, and we need to acknowledge them and basically engage with those emotions if we want people to support, in an ethical way. And I don't want to prescribe anything for, for policies, but maybe it is a way, these findings are a way to tell us that we need to design for different emotions and specific emotions in different steps of the intervention. So if we are researching about it, maybe we need to focus on something. And now when we are getting to the larger scale deployments, we potentially need to design for cautious optimism that we have seen is very bold among all the other emotions. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm happy to answer any questions later.